Mm. So the Arab Ananda asked the Buddha if he could show him the way how to go through the 44 stages of Bodhisattva to attain universal enlightenment or ultimate enlightenment. Right? Mm. So after saying this, he prostrated himself and together with the whole assembly, gravely stared at the Buddha and awaited his compassionate voice. The Buddha praised Ananda and said, "Excellent, excellent. It is good that on behalf of this assembly and all living beings in the Dharma and the age who will practice Samadhi in the quest of Mahayana, you can ask for my instruction on the unseparate path from worldly condition to transcendental nirvana. Listen attentively to what I now tell you." So the Buddha just promise, okay, to listen. I will explain to you. Mm, mm. Usually, before the Buddha gave any teaching, he used to remind the audience that they should listen attentively. Is that abundant, or is that necessary, or, or just um, the pattern of reminding others? What do you think?
Hmm. Well, I mean, it had to have some function for the Buddha to say it. And
Mm.
it can't hurt to remind people to pay careful attention. Um, but yeah, that I have noticed that. Um, but it's maybe just especially in like key points, um, and just to help remind people to be present and mindful.
But most of the time around him, there were many enlightened arhats. So what did he need to remind them?
To listen attentively. Um, I don't know. I mean, it seems like they would already be listening attentively.
Yeah,
It makes you think, since the Buddha is saying listen attentively, that sometimes some people weren't listening, is what it suggests. But it is kind of hard to imagine
sure,
that be there with the Buddha and not be listening.
sure. At beginning of the Lotus Sutra, right, when the Buddha ready to talk about that principle, so more than 5,000 monks, nuns, and lay people left, right?
Right. Yes.
Surprised. There's somehow
Yeah.
5,000 is not, it's not little, right?
No.
Big, large gathering. Yeah,
Yeah. And I wonder, in those size gatherings, how everybody could hear the Buddha.
I don't know. And yeah, during those time, how could the lay people support the big assembly, right? Financial,
Yeah.
right? And they have to feed the monks and nuns and lay people every day. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's not easy, especially they live outdoor. At that time, they didn't live indoor at all, most of the time. Yeah. Anyway, so I think, yeah, most of the time, yeah, the Buddha just remind them to listen attentively so that they can pay attention to the Buddha easily. Otherwise, sometimes they get let their mind wander around. It's not easy for them to understand and recognize the Buddha teaching. Yeah, please.
Ananda and the assembly brought their palms together and concentrated their minds to receive the teaching. The Buddha said, Ananda, you should know that the absolute nature is completely enlightened. It is beyond name and form and is fundamentally free from either the world or living beings. Because of ignorance, there arises birth, which is followed by death. So birth and death are unreal, and the wiping out of the unreal brings about the real, which is called supreme bodhi and parinirvana. Hence, these terms imply the twofold transmutation of klesa and samsara into bodhi and nirvana. Ananda, if you now wish to achieve the state of samadhi in order directly to reach the Tathagata's parinirvana, you should know first the two inverted causes which lead to the existence of living beings and the world. The non-rising of these inversions is the Tathagata's true state of samadhi. So the Buddha is stating that the original nature, the Buddha nature, here the absolute nature, is by its nature completely enlightened. And that it's not dependent upon form or name. It's it's free from all of these distinctions that we can make with our thoughts. But because of ignorance, all of these different distinctions arise, and we believe that they're real. And so birth and death and all the suffering is associated with those. And so if we can wipe out these unreal phenomena, these kind of illusory phenomena, then what's left is the real. So supreme bodhi and parinirvana. So the world, klesa and samsara then turns into bodhi and nirvana. So the Buddha is now saying to Ananda that to achieve that state, to achieve that samadhi, you have to identify the two inverted causes which lead to the like birth and death distinctions, the existence of living beings, and then understand that the Buddha's true state is where those inversions don't arise.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, we've been talking about this so many times, and yeah, sometimes I wish that we live in the Pure Land so that we would not encounter all kind of temptation, all kind of obstruction, right? But that's our wish. The reality is that we need to face with them. Um, and while we're facing coping with those type of obstruction or temptation, unless we have some kind of awareness, it's not easy to recognize that they come and go, that they are impermanent, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy, right? Mm. Yeah. Without the practice, there's no way. No ways but to recognize they are impermanent or they are illusion. Mm. It's not easy. Um, this is for us, but I'll talk about the one who doesn't understand anything about Buddhism, the one that have so much attached to the wealth, to the fames and so forth. They fight to death for those things. Mm. So, um, do you feel that somehow we go down to the downstream day by day, that people mm, have more attachment than before? In general, I'm not talking about each individual, but I'm talking about in general. What do you think?
Yeah, then like back during the Buddha's time.
Yeah, and let put this way, people are more attached to material life than spiritual life.
Yeah. And I think, we tend to spend less time outside. We tend to be much more engaged in like thinking on average, and more complexities of life, and how you can live life. Like, all right, yeah, just you got to get gas in your car, and you got to make money to get gas in your car. You got all these things you got to do to take care of your car. And just that, like, one thing of even transportation is more complicated than it's been in the past, and school is more complicated, jobs are more complicated. So there does seem to be more causes for really stirring the mind up and getting it used to that, conditioning it to be in a very active state. And then not a whole lot of importance placed in society, in our culture in the West, not a lot of importance placed on silence, stillness, meditation, unless there's a problem, and then that might be presented, but it's not just taught as a sort of basic practice that everybody can do.
Have you read the news that two parents were sentenced to the jail because their child killed other people?
Mm-hmm.
News.
Mm-hmm.
So, so let's say even we don't have any intention to do harms, but like that couples, the parents, they have to be responsible for their child bad behavior or the killing common. So if we encounter that kind of situation, how could we calm our mind then?
And like if being the parent,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know the exact details, but wasn't it that the father basically was reckless with his guns,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and that's why? So certainly I mean, right? It's understanding the nature first of the emotions that arise. I mean, if there could be anger about feeling that it's unfair, but
Mm.
there could also be regret that he didn't do something to prevent that. And
Mm.
there could be guilt over that as well. So I think first it's important to sort of notice the feelings, distinguish them, and you can't get rid of them. You can't force them away, but being with them and then trying to go into a sort of neutral state, like using the breathing. And that's, to me, that's the skylight. That's the sort of, if everything else is bad, if we can remind ourselves of the original nature, because this term inversion seems really helpful because it's like we've turned things upside down. We're so referring to all of these impermanent phenomena and
Mm.
it can be a reminder that forces us to like, if we know the teachings, then it can force us to apply them and to consider that, all right, well, all of these things are going to fade away anyways. None of these are like mine or myself. These are just phenomena, and the essential nature is whole and complete and can't be added to or taken away. And that, I think, that can bring some peace, because then we can kind of tolerate whatever comes. But the tricky part is that my default is I go back into like feeling that I have a life and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to that life to be a particular way and thinking about the future. And it's just the state of not living in those aversions is, it's just I've practiced the other way for so long that it just, I can kind of touch briefly a small part of that other state, but then I just, those old habits return, so I have to keep practicing. So I mean, I think the way to deal with it is reflection, taking time in silence, sitting with the emotions, repenting is really regretting the action sincerely, and really vowing to do better in the future. And then trying to make the best of the situation, trying to use the time in jail to, to read, to practice, to try to do something good for other people.
Yeah, it's not easy for common people. right? Especially the parents, they spend, they say that probably 5 to 10 years. I forgot how long they sentence them. But even after they get out of the jail, it's not easy for them to survive to find a job, right?
Yeah.
It's very tough, and they may need to start fresh again with empty hand, and it's not easy to find a job to survive. That's a problem. But still, yeah, without recognition of the karma, the impermanence of life and so forth, not easy to do. Mm. Easy to do for this kind of situation. Okay, anyway, let's move on to the next one then. The, origin of living beings in the world. Ananda, what are these two inversions? Because of the mind's arbitrary awareness of the underlying right nature, the later which fundamentally enlightened becomes an objective form as opposed to the false perception. Thus, from fundamental nothingness arise actual phenomena. Therefore, the existence of ignorance and this duration of the world and living beings, the coalesce cause of subjective ignorance and its objective duration, and subjective living beings dwell in their objective above the world, have no real basic from reality which does not abide anywhere between the world and living beings. Wow, it's very tough to understand this one in this
Yeah. Yeah. Like I want to go back and read it again.
conclusion. So, what do you say? Mm, so the fundamentally enlightened comes an objective, the form.
That's interesting, like arbitrary awareness.
Yeah, as opposed to the false perception. So one is enlightened or the Buddha nature. Another one is the false perception, right? So, but
Mm.
uh, so that's because of our uh, views about these two assistant, right? Uh, the duality, right? And that's why we have this kind of these subject and object. Right? The subject, the subject is ignorance. The object is duration. The subject come from um, yeah. The subject come from ignorance because ignorance it create the problems. Right? The cause of the uh, duration is the ignorance, right? The main cause of duration, whichever the body, the mind, so forth, it come from the subject. That's mean ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance, even in Buddhist view, even is uh, it arises from nothingness. But I think we can go down maybe more understandable. Yeah. The subjective living beings and the objective above the world have no real basic, no matter living beings or the material life, the form. There's no real basic. Uh, so so most of the time, especially in the Mahayana Sutra, it say that our life is like uh, our dreams, right? In the dreams, we see all kinds of things. We may have seen we're male, female, we may have seen we fly here and there. do this and that and so forth. But when we wake up, it's nothing. That's what I think in general. I think that's what this about. So we don't need to compare. It's a bit confusion. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, the I like the arbitrary awareness part. I think it sounds like a good explanation because it's kind of like because my awareness is limited.
Mm.
Like it's kind of in a sense, it's like an arbitrary limitation. I don't see the full thing, and then that's kind of, but instead of seeing it as a misperception, I like experience it as real. So yeah, I like it. But okay, cool.
Let's go down here. It's more understandable. Yeah, please.
The inverted cause of the existence of living beings. What is the inverted cause of the seeming existence of living beings? The faulty awareness of completely enlightened nature creates a falsehood which has neither nature nor basis. If you wish to restore the real, this very wish pertains to the samsaric mind and is not related to absolute nature. If the unreal mind is used to recover real nature, the latter will be unreal, and of necessity there follow illusory birth and existence as well as unreal mind and dharma, which will unfold endlessly and will gain in intensity, thereby creating new karma, and so responses from those sharing the same karma. This karmic responsiveness leads to the interdependence of births and deaths, hence the inverted cause of the seeming existence of living beings. So here it's repeating the pattern above, the faulty awareness of completely enlightened nature. So, like everything I perceive with my senses or in my mind is the completely enlightened nature. But because I don't, my perception of it is, my awareness of it's faulty, I'm not seeing its full scope. I'm kind of like it's bound by time and by space, and so I'm seeing a limited aspect of it, and so it appears to have like some separate reality of myself or the table, and as opposed to seeing it as the completely enlightened nature. And then this idea of like this next sense, if you wish to restore the real, this very wish is not related to the absolute nature. It pertains to the samsaric mind. It's like the line in that Zen Gatha, affirming faith and mind, attempts to stop activity will fill you with activity.
Mm.
Remaining in duality, you'll never know of unity. So the that we could have an idea that we want something and then we strive to get it, that's just the same pattern. That's like the pattern of the illusion. It's just now applied to like striving to want to get enlightenment. And so we can run into all sorts of problems because we're still striving. Striving for the outer world as well as for the inner void condemn us to entangled lives. That's another one in the phrase, just calmly see that all is one and by themselves false views will go. So this, I can over and over, I'm just seeing how much the Surangama Sutra inspired Zen and how much it's referred to. Um, so, and then it goes on to say that, um, right, if we're trying to use the unreal mind to recover the real nature, the whatever we think we recover will also be unreal. And so we'll still have the illusions of birth and existence, and then there'll be unreal dharmas and unreal mind, and it'll unfold endlessly. And so we'll just keep creating karma and then we'll resonate with people who have the similar sort of karma. And so that's, that sounds like how we can create affinities that way
Mhm.
and have some interdependence in births and deaths with like people being our mother or our children or our father.
Mm. I remember the story that the monk that chase after the sick patient to
Yes.
ball and the ropes, right? So Huệ
Mhm.
Năng say, well, if you don't think about good, if you don't think about bad, where is your mind? It's just go beyond, right? If we let go of thinking good or bad, that's just our mind, the pure mind. The moment that we have, like you say, pop up in our mind to think about, oh, I want to attain enlightenment, I want to do good this and so forth, we still have that attachment. Well, of course, it's good attachment. Bad attachment is that, yeah, we want to fight for the money, fight for the fame, no matter what happened. Yeah, so and how, yeah, uh, nowadays in this modern age, we in the spiritual views, we go downstream because with all kind of social medias, attachment, with all kind of instrument, uh, cell phone, iPad, and so forth, right? They develop or they invent those couple um, um, material things, right? The equipments, the computer, and so forth. So we get hooked in them. It did come from the invention of the people mind, and they, of course, we respect them as a scientists, as the inventors, right? But when they produce those kind of things, right, we get hooked into, and
Mhm.
we fight for that, and we fight for or pay for new iPhone 15, 16. They keep advertise that we need to upgrade, right? Upgrade iPhone, upgrade the car, upgrade the house. So for all kind of materials that that tempt us to fall into that trap. Yeah, without understanding this kind of principle, and even without practicing, it's not easy mm, to get away or stay above those kind of trap, right?
Mm.
Be a top, right? Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially when one's work involves that now. So for a lot of businesses, like mine included, it's important to have an online presence. So it means posting to social media, creating content for it to bring people in. So it's like, okay, well, you might not use it. I might not use it personally, hardly at all, but if I'm using it for business, then gradually I'm gotten drawn into it. So yeah, it is. It's very tricky.
Mhm. One way is that for the survival, right? Another way is that whether we see that type of uh, attachment or that kind of path is illusory or not, or illusion or not, right? It's not easy. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, because knowing and then in the moment actually like applying that knowing and contemplating to be mindful of the actual dynamic, It's mostly, I mean, like Instagram, it's all about form because there's not really sound isn't really a big issue. Obviously, it's not taste, touch, or smell, but it's just all about appearances and form and how that can invoke certain feelings.
Mm. Yeah, and I think we discussed before from the AI, right?
Mhm.
Invention later on the the distinction between human activities or mentality to compare with the AI robot. Maybe blurry, right? And we may not know which one is real information, which one is the misinformation out there, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because we can copy people's voices, copy what they look like. Yeah.
Yeah, especially for the younger generation later on, they have to deal with that, have to deal with all kind of misinformation. Uh, it's not easy to distinguish between the real life and mm, uh, the life, the second life or the life on internet. For example, the children, right, they play video games most of the time, and they think they are their real life, but they forget about their real life here.
Yeah.
And that's training for them, right? When they develop the AI robot or all kind of information that can produce from that type of AI robot, and they may not recognize what is real, what's unreal, what is the proper information or misinformation, and they mess up. They mess up with this too, and it may raise some type of what we call zombie world.
Yes. Mhm.
So we don't know where is wrong, where's right, where is real, what's unreal, and so forth. It's still dangerous, right?
Yeah, I just heard on the news today that there is work right now. I'm not, this doesn't surprise me at all. I'd be surprised if it wasn't happening. There's work right now to create artificial wombs. So the way most of these technologies begin is to do something helpful, like for a disease. So they're saying it's to help with premature babies. So, so some premature babies are too premature, so they can't survive. So if there's an artificial womb, they could survive. But then you could see what could happen in the future. You could see that robots start carrying babies, right? Humans don't even, like, at some point, enough women are like, nah, I don't want to carry a baby myself. I'll have a robot do it. Interestingly, I read another article saying that pregnancy or perhaps breastfeeding kind of ages someone physiologically, like it moves their biological clock forward faster than if they hadn't had a pregnancy. So people just becoming more and more kind of thinking and acting on more and more of their preferences and being able to, it's pretty weird. Like we could see the role of motherhood completely change, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah. So they may implant the chip inside in the brain, right, to manipulate human emotion, feeling, and so forth. And what happened if someone hack that chip? I think you know, right? Even some kind of heart transplant, right? Heart transplant people, they have problem if someone hack into that kind of program, right?
Oh, wow.
Uh, It's been so many years before.
Yeah, I haven't heard about those stories.
Yeah, they
Yeah, I mean, I can see if there's some sort of technological thing in there that's going to respond to like radio frequency.
especially if they want to what they call oh, going to have the ransom, especially
Oh,
especially
wow.
for the wealthy people, right? They want to live long. That's why they have heart transplant, or oh, the artificial heart, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
so far. So as soon as they get into, as soon as they hack into those type of chip or programs, they can control
Hmm.
that person. That's why they can ask for ransom.
Wow.
Many years ago, I read those articles, and
That's wild.
now if they implant the chip on the human brain, right? If they hack into that kind of program, you're done. Well, I don't know. So, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, if we pass away and come back here, we will see all kind of zombie or I don't know. But
Yeah. It probably, who knows? I mean, it will people just like go into a virtual reality
yeah,
thing, live their life, or augmented reality where this is another thing I could see happening where people have, glasses or contacts. And so it can display things on their screen. What if they just started like they just decided, oh, I don't want my partner to look that way. I'm going to change their appearance.
Mm.
And so now like you just anybody or make anybody look the way you want them to look or sound the way you want them to sound. It's kind of it's a very weird thing, like ability to exercise more and more preference in a super easy way, like making it harder to just accept things as they are, because you could kind of you could change the illusion and make it look like something else.
I think last few days there's one news that talk about um, they transplant the pig kidney into the human body
Hmm.
successfully. You know about that, right?
I don't think I heard about that story.
Let me type for you and see. So actually, that is the thing that our master mentioned about. Let's say pig kidney transplant. Yeah, it's big news. Only 3 days ago. Let's see here. Um, right here. Three- Let me check. Um, successfully, see,
Yeah.
transplant pig kidney into brain dead. Wow. So it's not talk about the AI, but I'm talk about actually I read one article is talk about what happened if we use all part of all the animals, the strongest one to implant into or try implant into my our body, or what happened if we use those part of animals part uh, as human part will be the strongest one. But actually, let's put this way, when we have the blood transplant, right, it may change our mentality, it may change our feeling, it may change our emotion, depend upon what type of blood that we receive from the one that gave us blood. So you know about that, right?
Yeah, they've done studies with like mice where if you take young mouse blood, put it in an old mouse, the old mouse will act younger, and vice versa. If you take old mouse blood, put it in a young one, the young one will act older.
Yeah. So anyways, it's all kind of things. Of course, we see the progress of science nowadays in modern age, but that is side effect of science, right? If
Yeah.
we don't uh, focus much about the ethical aspect of that, and I think they talk about even cloning human and so forth, right? They talk about that aspect, right? If
Oh, I can't believe it hasn't been done.
if them address us, it will be the mess later on in many generations from now. Mm.
There has to be rich people around the world who have paid to like do cloning, because if they clone themselves and they needed a new organ, then they could take the organ from that clone. And I can't believe that someone hasn't done that. If we can do monkeys and sheeps and stuff, like someone's probably done a human.
So they have not done that yet, right? They have not done taken the clone organ into the human organ yet, right?
As far as I know, there's no news stories about a human being cloned.
Okay.
Like, but I doubt I just believe that it has to have happened, and it's just it's secret because it's unethical, you know. It's
Anyway,
secret.
um, yeah, it's been the last few decades, like it's go so fast to compare with so many centuries before, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That's why it's people getting crazy and crazy down the line. Anyway, so that's what we hear. And if we be born again here next couple of 100 years, we would not recognize who we are. We would see old zombie or robot walking around or riding the car, flying around. hopefully for better.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully.
Mm.
Yeah, it is wild.
Okay, let us stop here today then. Okay.
Okay,
Mm.
Ty.
So thank you. See you
Thank
then.
you. See you next time.